Welcome back. Hopefully this video be better than the last. Probably because I'm not going to be showing it. We back in our book, Trilateral Commission. And I'm only going to read a little bit. This is still the overview. Spreading the trilateral way. Consumption is the lucrative of profit. In 1968, Forbes magazine calls itself the Capitalist Two, featured the views of Nabisco President Lee Brickmore. He said Arabs and Americans, Latins and Scandinavians will be munching rich crackers as enthusiastically as they already drink Coke or brush their teeth with Colgate. Marketing the art of repeatedly displacing and creating new needs is the key to expanding consumption. But it is more than marketing like militarism, it's a means of managing social change. Corporations not only advertise products, they promote lifestyles. Lifestyles rooted in consumption pattern largely after the United States. Corporate planners hope that enthusiastic consumption of even the cheapest goods at the poorest income levels will be a bomb for exploitation endured in the workplace, serving the dual corporate aims of stability and profitability. Now you hear what they said. Arabs and Americans, Latins and Scandinavians will munch Ritz crackers enthusiastically as they drink Coke. Wow. It would not be possible to build a one world market. Here we go with the New World Order, a one world market without a global mass communication system. Today, advertisements, network news, entertainment, and educational programs are beamed by satellite to hundreds of millions of people around the world. Let me see. This phase comes from Managing Social Change, an unpublished reader on corporate strategy produced by new disbanded New Haven Collective. Coca-Cola probably is one of the product most symbolic of the American way of life is going to China. Hmm. As early as 1968, CBS annual report stated that CBS News Film Service, using satellite delivery for major stores, expanded its penetration to 95% of the free world's television homes. The products and services are RCA. Wow, they don't even talk about RCA no more. Products, tastes, and norms develop in the trilateral regions and flow outward to the rest of the world. A world information grid is built, helps write Brzezinski, who is to burden the scope of educational, scientific, economic, technological cooperation among the most advanced industrial nations that are becoming post-industrial are in some regards moving into the post-national age. Hmm. Okay. Trilateralists look forward to a pseudo post national age in which social, economic, political values originating in trilateral regions are transformed into universal values. Expanding networks of like minded government officials, businessmen, and technocrats. A technocrat is a technician or specialist, science economist, political science engineer, computer analyst. Daniel Bell writes, in the technocrat mode, the ends have become simply efficiency and output. A technocracy may be defined as the theory or doctrine or proposed system of government in which all economic resources and hence the entire social system, wow, would be controlled by scientists and engineers. Wow, now we got robots. Trilateralism promised a pseudo-technocracy where technocrats would serve the owner managers of the global corporations. Here we go with the New World Order. Profit would remain the force behind efficiency, although it would be cloaked in the rhetoric of increasing productivity and enhancing social welfare. Hmm. So, expanding networks of like-minded government officials, businessmen, and technocrats. Elite products of Western education are to carry out national and international policy formation. Functionally specific institutions with more technical focus and lesser public awareness are best suited for addressing international issues in a trilateral model. Trilateralists call this decision-making process piecemeal functionalism. No comprehensive blueprints will be proposed and debated, but bit by bit, the overall trilateral design will take shape. Its functional components are to be adopted in more or less piecemeal fashions, lessening the chance people will grasp the overall scheme and organize resistance. Piecemeal functionalism is part of the Trilateral Commission's broad global strategy for the management of interdependence. Trilateralists speak of interdependence in trade of vital commodities such as oil and food, in finance and technology, in communications and transport, in ecology, in social expectations, and in the threat of nuclear holocaust. The global strategy is set forth in a report seen by the Commission as the culmination of the first 3 years of work. Mm. The managers of dependence will be the trinational elite, which Bernanke, who trained Obama, along with Kissinger and George Soros. He was professor at Harvard. He was in Nixon's cabinet. Describes as being composed of international businessmen, scholars, professional men, and public officials. The ties of these new elites cut across national traditions, and their interests are more functional than national. At the international level, trilateral leaders will be responsible for rulemaking, establishing frameworks of rules, standards, and procedures. Elites from other countries will be increasingly incorporated into management, making operating decisions within the rules. Such rulemaking constraints operating decisions in such a way that national decisions aggregate into a consistent and beneficial whole rather than working across proportions. By the period 1985 to 90, predicts one observer, countries like Mexico, Brazil, India, and Iran and Saudi Arabia will probably have joined the Advanced Nation Club for a number of functions of that club. Wow. Other so-called new influencers include Nigeria, Venezuela, and Indonesia. Mm. Rhetorically, commissioners claim that trilateral states do not set out to remake the world in their own image. Nonetheless, they pose their revealing long run view of what is desirable, building an international system that is pluralistic enough to permit cultivation of the values of trilateral countries in all those countries that choose to cultivate them. Mm. So Berninsky says cultivation is. Oh, hold on. I'll be right back. True. All right, now, because I'm going to stop right here. Let me see. Oh, Berninsky said cultivation. To be sure, the fact that in the aftermath of World War II, a number of nations were directly dependent on the United States in matters of security, politics, and economics created a system that in many represents, including that of the scale, superficially resembled the British, Roman, and Chinese empires of the past. The empire was at the most an informal system marked by the pretense of equality and non interference. By the late 1960s, the earlier direct political military dependence on the U.S. had declined, often in spite of political efforts by the U.S. to maintain it. Its place has been filled by the persuasive but less tangible influence of American economic presence and innovation. It works through the interpretation of economic institutions, the sympathetic harmony of political leaders and parties, the shared concepts of sophisticated intellectuals, the mating of bureaucratic interests. So that's what Beninsky said. Beninsky is right in stressing the economic cultural side of imperialism, but wrong in implying that it displaces militarism. This is as much pretense and admitted pretense of equality and non-interference. The American economic presence is tangible and it occurs in a living and penetration. Berninsky means penetration of the weaker by the dominant system. Countries are continually bombarded with images of fantasy of the American dream, still to this day. And the American dream is dead. In countries' ways, the message of the dominant system penetrates. The Western way is the good way. That's a lie. National culture is inferior. Wow. This is from the 80s. This is the means of cultural penetration or cultural imperialism. Mass advertising, Voice of America Radio, educational sponsorships are all designed to shape tastes, beliefs, practices, and aspirations in the image of the West. Indoctrination. That's all this is indoctrination. Wow. Foreign economic and military aid are less subtle ways of influencing other countries. Presidents like Harry Truman and John Kennedy have applauded the value of foreign aid in molding development to suit the needs of the Western business, as it should. I mean, we giving you something, then you need to be in our interest. All right. So, wow. Wow, dig this. Now, this got me. This is an example. I should have read it before I read that. The success of corporate promotion of infant formula is a cruel example of cultural imperialism. Companies use a variety of approaches to get third world mothers to switch from breastfeeding, as they did American mothers, to bottle feeding of their newborn babies. The smiling white babies pictured on the front of formula tin cans lead her to think that rich white mothers feed their baby this product, and therefore it must be better than your own milk. Damn. The same message is It's broadcast over radio and painted on billboards. Companies court hospital personnel, give out free samples, send milk nurses to visit the mother in the hospital and home, all to get the baby and mother hooked on infant formula from the start. Wow, look at how they set this shit up. Ooh wee. Poverty, inadequate medical care, and unsanitary conditions make bottle feeding, to quote a government nurse in Peru, poison for the babies. Wow, and this is from 1978. Wow. Now, dig this. This is how deep the Trilateral Commission goes. Fortune brings home the point about education in the comment about Saudi Arabia. Now, remember, this book is from the 80s. The ministers and second level bureaucrats who run the country are mostly products of Western education. One Wayne was called them the California Mafia because so many of them attended universities in the state of California. Wow. Military leaders have long been indoctrinated in Western capitalist values and trained in the methods of law and order and counterinsurgency at school in the Panama Canal Zone and colleges like West Point. You can't make this up. Deposed Nicaraguan dictator Somoza attended West Point. You can't make this shit up. I didn't even know we had foreign people that went to West Point. Wow. Wow. As children, he and his brother went to LaSalle Military Academy on Long Island. You can't make this up. If the sun never sets on a global corporation, then neither must it be shadowed by national sovereignty and democratic popular control. If the sun never sets on the global corporations, then neither must it be shadowed by national sovereignty. So forget sovereignty, forget that, and democratic popular control. Forget all that. That you're in a sovereign nation that governs itself. Wow. Peacefully working to conquer the world is how Singer Sewing Machine Company was described its marketing strategy. But societies are not conquered and reconquered with products alone. Global corporations seem to be eclipsing the sovereignty of nations, big and small. Yet these new corporate empires depend on the political, economic, and repressive power commanded by the ruling class of the nation state to maintain a favorable investment climate. Western governments, particularly the U.S., train and supply the military and police of other countries to keep the, the sympathetic political leaders. Berninsky described empower and surface working class movements. When governments turn unfriendly, the West attempts to discipline them if possible, dispose them if necessary. Shaw do been doing. Hillary Clinton unaliving Gaddafi, for example. The U.S. unaliving Saddam, who we put them both in power. Wow. Depose them is necessary, preferably through economic and political maneuvers. often in action, always standing by our military and covert action forces of the United States, France, and a host of junior forces, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, Israel, and so on. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop right there because the next one goes into managing third world dependence, and that is a long few pages, and I don't feel like doing that. I gotta get up in the morning. Yep, I'm gonna come back with that because this overview is long, but I think this is good. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. I'm done. I'm going to bed, and I hope that video come out good.